one couldn't walk alone.
The TTPS is joining us on now in the form of Inspector Michelle Lewis. Good morning to you, Inspector.
Good morning, Rockers. Good morning to Natasha. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago.
How are you doing this morning, Inspector?
I am good. Happy to be here again to represent the organization and to share information that will be put in to each of us.
So this morning the conversation is about extortion, aka
Yes.
demanding money by menace.
Yes, you could be a police officer.
Careful
you
now,
need a regimental number.
The discipline is the problem I have, but that's a whole other conversation
we have the
altogether.
barracks to help with that.
There we go.
But demanding money by menace. So last week when we looked at situational awareness, we looked at how it can assist you being aware of your surroundings and how it can reduce the likelihood of an incident happening within you, or how it can reduce the impact of an incident, right, that might occur with you. So this morning we're going to take it a little further and look at, as you said, extortion, which by the law, the Larceny Act 1112, is demanding money by menace. So one of the things we want to employ and stress where persons are concerned is to engage the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service as far as possible. Now, this is an offense. The offense demanding money by menace is not one that we would commonly see in our data through crime and problem analysis. It exists, but it's not as prevalent as other offenses such as larceny motor vehicle or robbery motor vehicle. But it does not say that it's not happening.
And I was going to ask, is it that it's not as prevalent, or is it that it's not as reported?
I think it is not as reported, except to say when certain matters actually come to the police.
Yeah.
There was a recent matter that came to the attention of the police, and it is because of the partnership within the community. So we must commend each and every stakeholder that caused that incident where the police subsequently arrested 3 persons on Friday, where one purported to be a police officer impersonating a police officer, and the 3 of them were actually charged for demanding money by menace. They had appeared before the court this morning for a large sum of money.
So tell me something, right? You mentioned just now engaging the TTPS to make sure that you be as safe as possible. You see something, say something, all that good stuff, right? If somebody comes to me and is supposed to be a police officer, or is claiming to be a police officer, tell me what are the steps I should take to make sure that A, I am protected and I know for sure that you're a police officer, and B, if I feel like I'm being extorted by a police officer, somebody who looking like and acting like and saying that is a police officer, what steps do I take in that regard?
Right, so good question, because the person on Friday was purporting to be a police officer impersonating, right? And the person had a licensed firearm.
You see the same
but
thing?
But the person was not a police officer. So a couple of things that you look for is the person's shield and police ID. You ask the person where they're attached to, where they're working, right? And that will give you a quick indicator of where the person is. And you verify that information. So you can call 999 or you can call the station if the officer, because if you're in a particular area, the officer may be attached to that station division, right? So you do those checks to ensure that the person who is in front of you or who is inquiring of you is actually who the person says he or she is.
So if it is they stand up in front of me and they say I'm officer so and so from wherever the case is, and you have the opportunity now, I could arrest you for this, or you could pay me X amount of money and we go sort it out, right? And you say, hold on, sir, let me get your badge number.
Correct.
And then I call the police.
Correct. So let me see.
With this person with a licensed firearm standing in front of me, threatening me.
Correct.
Okay.
So the person, so you have, it is your responsibility and the right of a citizen or anybody, because you may not be a citizen of Trinidad, you might be a visitor, and to ask the police officer if it is they are not wearing it, to show you their shield and their Trinidad and Tobago Police Service identification card.
Right.
Okay.
On it, you would see the person's regimental number, a picture of the person who's in front of you if it resembles that person, right? And so their name, the regimental number, and a picture of themselves.
Okay, so I'd like to jump in here with something that Rokas just initiated in conversation, which is a badge number. As somebody who has been scammed by somebody pretending to be a police officer, they immediately identified themselves and gave me this number, which was allegedly their police number.
By showing it to you or by saying it to you?
By saying it to me. So how are you able to determine? Let's just say, is there any sort of maybe the amount of numbers, something like that, where you can determine that this actually is a genuine badge number if They can't show you their badge number.
No, the officer must show you his or her badge number. So I have my badge number. Every police officer must have the police ID and badge with them on their person at all times. The only reason why I don't wear it is because they all say the lighting does affect it. But no, which is really why I don't have it on. But generally speaking, each officer, whether you're on or off duty, has or ought to have the ID card. Because, for example, say I'm off duty and an incident happened, and I have to engage respond, then I have to identify myself, and I can only do so if I have my police ID on me.
Okay, so going a little bit away from extortion, but just for clarity in a situation like this, a police officer doesn't have their badge, is off duty, interacts with somebody, perhaps something happens. Is there any way that, let's just say there's an altercation, a scuffle, the police officer couldn't sufficiently identify themselves, the other person who may have been involved, can they be charged with anything when it comes to perhaps harassing a police officer? Can the police officer enforce their power assaulting a police officer?
So if you identify yourself as a police officer, except to say the person knows that I'm a police officer, so like, for example, you know that I'm a police officer, right? Because you have seen me. And let's say I'm outside there and I don't have, but you know me as a police officer. It may be in that case, but if you have no way of identifying yourself to me as a police officer and I allegedly assault you, then that cannot amount to an offense, because I do not know you to be a police officer and you did not show me your Trinidad and Tobago Police Service ID card to let me know that, hey, you are in fact who you say you are, and not after the fact. So it is an officer ought to know his responsibility and his right when he is outside there, and knows where to lime and what to do, and if it is that you're drinking and those kind of things, right? So the officer also has a responsibility on and off duty, right? So when we talk about extortion and persons who may impersonate a police officer, you as somebody who an officer comes up, or someone purporting to be an officer comes up, have the right to access the information of the officer and ensure that it is accurate. Further to that, we also want you to do diligent checks of the persons who you are hiring and who you have in around you. Because a lot of times, sometimes after you get someone in your circle and this person has gained your trust, more than likely is one of those persons who will now try to extort money from you, because they have observed your character, they have observed your mode of transaction, whether it's on a Thursday or during the day. They know that you have a driver that comes at a particular time. So it's important that you, particularly business owners, situational awareness, and that you are keen and vigilant. I know sometimes it sounds as if you have to always do a lot, but when you're in a particular type of industry, for example, business, where you're going to have a lot of money around you, and the crime is out there, and the opportunity of crime can happen, it is important that you really do your checks. Yes, there's certificate of character that you can get from the person, but we have persons who do not have a record and commit offenses in the society.
How do you check them?
So one of the ways that you can do that is communicating with the police in the community. Build relationship with the officers in the district, the station district, who can say to you, well, yeah, I know this person, this person is lyman, and that is not a good person to, to employ. Or, we know this person. That's one of these things that community policing allows, that the officers in the area knows the person. They know when they look at this profile that this is John, and his movement and that kind of thing. So build a relationship with the police officers in the community and ensure that, you engage them when you're hiring new personnel. Ensure that you have security systems in place as well to help you. And that the security company that you use, if you're doing deposit, is a reputable one.
So that was going to be my next question about security companies, because they also fall under the extortion bracket at times.
Yes, unfortunately, some security providers fall in that category. So do your checks. There are a lot of security companies who hire all sorts of persons.
Including police, off-duty police too?
All sorts of persons whose reputation may not know. They may not even be Trinidad and Tobagonians. And so they may not have a record in Trinidad and Tobago in the system. And so these persons that we are hiring, we must be very cautious of who you are allowing into your space for your safety and the safety of others, your employees, as well as your family.
Nice. Well, Inspector, let me thank you so much for joining us and for giving us this little tidbit of information on how we can prevent ourselves from being extorted. And I hope that you were able to take the information this morning and make the absolute most of it. Inspector, happy Indian Arrival Day. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you very much. I must say you look smashingly
thanks. Yeah, I've taken that only Inspector giving compliments this morning. I've taken it. Yeah. And as a matter of fact, let me take that break and come back with more on the Now Morning Show. Stay tuned.